What would you do if you discovered that the person you trusted most was hiding a dark secret that threatened to destroy your family and reputation? Reverend Michael Johnson, a respected pastor in Memphis, Tennessee, lived with his wife Sarah and daughter Claire in a seemingly perfect family. He was a symbol of faith and responsibility admired by the community. However, behind that perfect appearance, Michael carried secrets that even those closest to him did not know. Michael's devoted wife, Sarah Johnson, had grown accustomed to her husband spending a lot of time at church because of his pastoral work. However, beginning in 2017, she noticed unusual changes in Michael. He often left home earlier and returned later, citing his increasingly busy work schedule. Sarah tried to convince herself that Michael's dedication to the community was obvious, but her worries grew. What bothered Sarah most was the way Michael cared for their daughter, Claire. He often spent time alone with her at church, under the guise of teaching or instructing her. Actions such as stroking her hair, looking too intently when talking to Claire, and the way he skillfully avoided Sarah's presence during private meetings made her uneasy. The community also began to gossip. Some members of the church, although not saying it outright, suggested that they found the relationship between Michael and Claire somewhat unnatural. Sarah tried to ignore the rumors, thinking that people were misunderstanding or exaggerating the problem. However, the more she looked, the more she realized that these worries were not unfounded. One day, Sarah finds a small diary in Claire's room. In it, Claire writes about feeling confused and uncomfortable with her father's behavior. But doesn't elaborate. The vague writing mixed with love and uncertainty is too much for Sarah to ignore. She wants to believe that she's just imagining things, that things aren't as bad as she thinks, but that uncertainty continues to grow, leading to a fateful event. On the evening of July 4, 2017, Sarah, while visiting the church to look for her husband, witnesses a scene that shocks her. The church is dark and quiet, with only a faint light from Michael's study. Sarah quietly enters, thinking that her husband is still working, but when she looks through the half-open door, she is stunned to see Michael and Claire in an inappropriate situation that goes far beyond a normal father-daughter relationship. The sight leaves Sarah speechless. Her heart shattered as she realized the terrible truth that was unfolding before her eyes. After a few seconds of shock, Sarah pushes the door open. Her voice trembles with anger. Michael and Claire are startled, but the embarrassment quickly turns into a heated argument between Sarah and Michael. Sarah confronts her husband, demanding an explanation for his unacceptable behavior. Michael, instead of apologizing, tries to justify it as a misunderstanding. He even turns the blame on Sarah, accusing her of alienating the family with unnecessary suspicion. Claire, standing in the corner of the room, remains completely silent, causing Sarah even more pain. The tension escalates when Michael, in a fit of rage, pushes Sarah to the floor. The fall leaves her seriously injured, and she has to be hospitalized. In her hospital bed, Sarah not only suffers physical pain but is also haunted by the betrayal of the husband she once trusted. Despite the physical and mental pain, Sarah decides to remain silent. She chooses to protect Michael's reputation because she does not want her family to become the center of public gossip. She believes that by turning a blind eye, everything will end, and her family can continue their normal lives. Everything seems to be back to normal with Sarah's tolerance. However, on the morning of September 8, 2017, Sarah Johnson unexpectedly does not return home after leaving in the afternoon. Initially, Michael Johnson reports to the police that his wife left home to go shopping but did not return. Claire, their daughter, also expresses concern when she cannot contact her mother immediately after receiving the news. Local police and neighbors begin a large-scale search. The roads around the church, the nearby wooded area, and the stores Sarah often visited are thoroughly searched. However, for many hours, all efforts are fruitless. Late the next afternoon, a resident passing by the river in the Memphis suburbs discovers a large tied sack floating on the riverbank. When the police open the bag, they are horrified to find Sarah's body inside. Through forensic examination, the cause of death is determined to be a strong blow to the head with a hard object, causing severe trauma leading to death on the spot. News of Sarah's death quickly spreads throughout the community, causing a huge shock. Michael and Claire appear in public with images of loved ones in extreme pain. Michael sobs as he recounts the last time he saw his wife, while Claire sits beside him, holding her father's hand, shedding tears. The police pledged to solve the case, but Michael and Claire appeared in public with images of loved ones in extreme pain. Michael sobbed as he recounted the last time he saw his wife, while Claire sat beside him, holding her father's hand and shedding tears. The police pledged to solve the case, but those close to the family began to question who was behind this horrific crime. After discovering Sarah Johnson's body, local police immediately launched an investigation to identify the perpetrator. However, initial clues did not yield clear results. There were no specific fingerprints or any direct evidence that could lead to a suspect on the victim's body or the sack. The only physical evidence was a fatal wound to the head, suggesting that Sarah was killed by a severe blow with a hard object. The police expanded their investigation by checking security cameras around Sarah's home. Through video footage from Sunday afternoon, they discovered that Sarah had left the house with Michael. The couple was seen leaving in Michael's car, and this was the last time Sarah was seen alive. The police immediately summoned Michael for questioning. During the interview, Michael remained calm and gave a seemingly reasonable statement. He said that the two had gone to a friend's house in the community that afternoon. However, Sarah then decided to go shopping alone, and that was the last time he saw her. With no concrete evidence to contradict Michael's statement, the police were forced to let him go. After finding no convincing evidence from Michael's statement, the police changed the direction of the investigation and decided to summon Claire, the Johnsons' 18-year-old daughter. As a housemate and close relative to both parents, Claire might have important information related to the case. Initially, Claire was shy and reserved when answering the police's questions. She claimed to know nothing about her mother's disappearance and death, insisting that her father was devastated by the incident. However, as police continued to question the family relationship, especially Sarah's hospitalization in July, Claire began to show signs of insecurity. During questioning, Claire revealed a shocking truth. She and her father, Michael, had been having an inappropriate relationship for many years. Claire said the incident began when she was a teenager under the guise of private catechism lessons at church. Taking advantage of the trust and closeness in the family, Michael gradually controlled Claire's psychology, turning the father-daughter relationship into a perverted one. Claire also said that her mother, Sarah, discovered the relationship on the evening of July 4, 2017. Sarah caught Michael and Claire in an inappropriate situation at church, leading to a heated conflict. After being confronted by Sarah, Michael lost his temper and pushed his wife to the ground, sending her to the hospital. Claire admitted that the incident caused extreme tension in the family, with Sarah gradually distancing herself from Michael and becoming more vigilant. Based on Claire's testimony, the police began to suspect that Michael was directly involved in Sarah's death. Michael's motive seemed clear: fear that Sarah would reveal his improper relationship with his daughter, threatening to destroy his reputation in his pastoral career. Claire's testimony, although not direct evidence, put Michael under the biggest suspicion. However, in order to convict Michael, the police needed more concrete evidence. When the investigation was at a standstill due to the lack of evidence, Claire, Michael Johnson's daughter, suddenly provided important information that turned the case in a new direction. Claire told the police that after leaving the station, she confronted her father directly. During a tense conversation at home, she demanded the truth about her mother's death. Claire, with growing suspicions, could not help but ask directly, "Did Dad kill Mom?" At first, Michael was upset and tried to avoid the question. However, when Claire continued to press, even bursting into tears due to the pressure and guilt, Michael finally confessed. He told Claire he killed Sarah because he had no other choice. Sarah wanted to destroy his career and honor. This confession left Claire speechless. She could not believe that the father she had respected, who had led the community with teachings on faith and morality, was the one who had brutally attacked her own mother. The pain and disappointment made Claire decide to report the entire conversation to the police. Based on Claire's important testimony, the police immediately summoned Michael Johnson for questioning. Under the pressure of evidence and testimony from his daughter, Michael could no longer hide the truth. Finally, he admitted that he had killed Sarah on the afternoon of September 8, 2017. Michael explained that while the couple was traveling, Sarah brought up the conflict related to the event at the church on July 4. Feeling threatened and afraid that Sarah would reveal the truth to the community, Michael lost control. He stopped the car on the side of the road, opened the trunk, took out a baseball bat, and suddenly hit Sarah hard on the head when she was not paying attention, causing her to die on the spot. After Sarah collapsed from the fatal blow, Michael realized he had gone too far and had no way back. In a panic, he quickly made a plan to cover up his crime. He returned to his car, took a pair of rubber gloves from the trunk to avoid leaving fingerprints, and carefully put them on. He then picked up Sarah's body, placed it in the back seat, covered her with a large cloth, and drove away. He drove through deserted roads to a remote bridge near a small river surrounded by dense bushes. There, Michael pulled Sarah's body out of the car and prepared for the final act. He took a large sack from the trunk, stuffed Sarah's body into it, tied the top with rope, dragged the sack to the edge of the bridge, and pushed it into the river. The water splashed as the sack sank into the dark waters, carrying the secret Michael hoped would never be discovered. Before leaving the scene, Michael carefully checked the car and the surrounding area to ensure no traces were left behind. He removed his gloves, put them in a trash bag, and drove home as if nothing had happened. After returning home, Michael maintained his normal appearance and even reported to the police that Sarah had left home to go shopping but had not returned. This confession officially concluded the weeks-long investigation, and Michael was arrested. With Claire's testimony and circumstantial evidence, the police completed the case to bring Michael to trial. On December 12, 2017, the trial of Michael Johnson, a once respected pastor of a small church in Memphis, officially began. The courtroom was packed with Sarah's family, community members, and the media, all present to witness justice being served in a case that shocked the region. The prosecutor charged Michael with first-degree murder and emphasized the cold and cruel nature of the act. From Michael's use of a baseball bat to his careful disposal of the body, they presented evidence including Claire's testimony, an autopsy showing blunt force trauma to the head, and surveillance footage capturing Michael and Sarah leaving the house together on the day of the murder. They also highlighted Michael's motive, fear that Sarah would expose his improper relationship with his daughter, which could ruin his reputation and pastoral career. They concluded that Michael's actions were not only a crime against Sarah but also a betrayal of the community's trust. Michael's attorneys argued for reduced charges, claiming he acted in a state of extreme emotional distress. They pointed to the conflict with Sarah that day, saying it caused Michael to lose control in an impulsive outburst. They also asked the court to consider Michael's years of service to the community, where he had devoted himself to helping the poor and mentoring believers. However, these arguments failed to convince the jury, especially given Claire's testimony and other evidence showing Michael had intentionally disposed of the body. When Michael took the stand, he admitted to the crime but claimed it was a mistake made under pressure. He cried, expressing remorse and apologizing to Sarah's family and Claire. "It was a moment of weakness on my part, and now I have to pay the price. I pray that my children and the community can forgive me," he said, his voice choking with emotion. After hours of deliberation, the jury found Michael Johnson guilty of first-degree murder. The judge, in his sentencing, stressed, "You have betrayed the trust of your wife, your daughter, and the community you once led. Your crimes are not only murder but grave moral failures. Therefore, the court sentences Michael Johnson to life in prison without the possibility of parole." As the verdict was read, Michael bowed his head, tears streaming down his face. Claire, sitting in the back row, wept silently, her eyes vacant. Sarah's family, though pleased with the outcome, could not hide their grief. The Memphis community remained divided. Some condemned Michael for his brutal crime, while others expressed sympathy for a man who had been a symbol of trust but lost everything due to his misdeeds. Michael's case stands as a heartbreaking testament to the destructive power of secrets and betrayal within families. It underscores how hidden problems can destroy relationships and lead to irreparable tragedy. Sarah chose silence to protect her family and husband's reputation, but did that silence contribute to the tragedy? If she had sought help, would things have turned out differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for following this case. See you in the next video.